How's it going, everyone? Welcome back. In this video, I'm going to show you guys how to jack your car from the front and do it in a proper way where you're going to be safe and you can feel secure being under the vehicle should you need to. Here are the items we're going to be needing to get this properly done to raise the car from the front. First, we're going to use our floor jack. I purchased this one on Amazon and I really wanted it to have side handles because we all know how heavy these are and pretty difficult to move around. Next, we have our jack stands here. These are really important. I strongly discourage using just a floor jack because this can give out at any moment and you could be caught under the vehicle. And lastly, we're gonna have our wheel chocks here to ensure the car doesn't roll forward or back while it's raised. Now, something I strongly recommend are these race ramps, and these are perfect for oil changes or doing anything under the car where you don't need to remove the wheel or anything of that measure. But again, in this video, we're showing how to properly raise the car. And this is if we wanna do the brakes, the rotors, anything of that measure, where we have the car securely rested. To start off, it's much more preferable to be on a level surface. That way it minimizes any rolling back and forth of the vehicle. Next, if it isn't obvious enough, make sure your car is in park and do apply the parking brake. Next, I'm gonna position my floor jack perpendicular to the vehicle, and we're going to raise from a secure point under the vehicle. And just for good measure, when we insert this arm here, we wanna make sure we turn to the right until it bottoms out there. Looking closer there, if I twist to the left, that's loosening the jack. And if I turn to the right, that's going to tighten it and close the hydraulic system. So that's very important. And this is another reason why we don't want to be under the vehicle in case we forget this step. This can come down on us. Perfect. So now that this is nice and tight, we're going to start raising from a secure point under the vehicle. You can't see too well right here. So what I'm going to do is raise the vehicle and then show you under where I'm jacking it from. What we're gonna do now is raise the car. Try to be smooth with this motion. You don't want to jerk too much so that you can pull the jack forward and back. Nice and stable. We want to raise the vehicle enough where these jack stands can slide under the frame of the vehicle behind the tires. Now I have the car raised. I'm not under it because it's just on this floor jack, but I just want to show you guys where I'm lifting from. So I'm right down the middle of the vehicle. And you're going to see there's a little recovery tow hook point, and just right behind it there's some sort of subframe that's pretty strong where I can raise the vehicle from. Depending on which vehicle you have, it might be a little different, but just look for a solid piece of metal like that that's pretty wide and thick. That should be able to support the raising of the vehicle. Now that the vehicle's raised with the floor jack, the next thing we want to do is put these jack stands under the vehicle, and this is where it's really going to be stable. So what we're going to look for is we have the driver's wheel here, and right behind, we're going to look under the vehicle where we have our frame here, and it's going to be a reinforced piece of metal that looks like that. Some cars might even have arrows pointing at this, but always do be sure to refer to your owner's manual if you don't know where to raise from. If you put it too far in, it could punch through the bottom of your floor and you don't want it to go into your vehicle, so always be sure to lift from a reinforced point such as this. We see that it fits there. This is our release that drops it down. Now that we have this one in place, we want to go to the other side to place the second one. Perfect, this is what I wanted to show you guys. So on the other side, that one slid under no problem, but on this side, even though this is fully down, it still doesn't fit under here. So what that means is we're going to need to raise the vehicle a little bit more with the floor jack. For good habit, I like to twist to the right just to make sure this is still locked. And I'm going to raise just a little bit more to be able to get that second jack stand under. Perfect. Now this slides under like the other side, but you notice the other one's a little raised more than this one. So I'm going to jack it a little more and get this to lock on that first level so the car is nice and even. Now we're able to extend that neck and have it locked there. I'm going to push down just a little bit to make sure it's nice and secure. And we see it's right on that supported point. At this point, the vehicle is still fully resting on this floor jack. I have the two jack stands in position. However, the vehicle frame is not resting on these jack stands yet. What I'm going to be doing now is turning counterclockwise on this floor jack handle so that it releases the pressure and the car slowly lowers. Again, turn it nice and slow. Don't do it all at once. You don't want the car's weight to fall all of a sudden. You want the weight to rest nice and easy on these jack stands. I'm going to turn this nice and slow. relieve the pressure slowly. And for good measure, you want to push on the vehicle to make sure that it is nice and secure on those jack stands. And again, safety's key here. So what I'm going to do is, even though the car is resting on those jack stands now, I'm going to come in with this floor jack on that support point there. Once I made contact with that support point, I went ahead and gave it another half pump just to make sure there's pressure on there, so that this is our backup safety measure. And then again, just make sure it's nice and tight to the right so that this doesn't release pressure as we're under the vehicle. So now that the vehicle's weight is resting on the jack stands, we have our floor jack with additional support. We can go into the rear wheel and apply our chocks. What I'm going to do here is apply one behind the wheel and one in front of the wheel so that the car doesn't rock either back or forward. This should be sufficient. You don't need to do it on both tires. Some people can do it just behind the tire, but I like to put one on the back and one on the front just because for whatever reason it rolls in whatever direction. I have this wheel chock as a safety measure. All right, now we have everything in place. We have our jack stands, we have our additional support with the floor jack, and then we have our wheel chocks, one in the front of the tire and one behind the tire. Now we can go into the vehicle for whatever you need to do, any repairs you might need. Now that you're done doing whatever you need to do under the vehicle, maybe you're changing your rotors, maybe you need to remove your wheels for whatever reason, or get into the vehicle for an oil change or to do some sort of tune-up. Once everything's done, we have our floor jack here. Again, make sure it's nice and tight to the right. And we're gonna pump a few times to get the vehicle high enough so that we can pull out those jack stands. At this point, once you're removing the jack stands or the vehicle is being raised off of those jack stands, you don't want to go under the vehicle because it's not as secure as it once was resting on those jack stands. So now I'm going to come around the vehicle here. I'm going to release the pressure. We can see it's no longer resting, and I'm going to relieve the pressure here. That's going to fall down. I'm going to pull this out of the way. And again, now that we remove these, you don't want to be under the vehicle because you don't have anything to catch the weight of the car aside from the floor jack. I'm going to come over here to the rear. I can pull out the rear wheel chock, but you're going to notice this one's nice and snug now. When I do lower the car, it should slide back just a bit and it should let me pull this out. And with two hands, I'm going to turn counterclockwise to slowly release the pressure. You don't want to do this too rapidly. You want to twist this nice and slow to let the vehicle lower. We're going to pull our floor jack out. Noticing our wheel chock on the front here has the weight of part of this wheel on it. So we're just going to reverse slowly and we could be able to pull that out. All right, everyone, and that concludes this video. Do keep in mind the jacking points for your vehicle may differ. If it's a truck or some sort of hybrid electric vehicle, just make sure to read your owner's manual and try to get as much information from that to properly do this job. And as always, try to be on a level surface if you can, and make sure to apply your parking brake. With that said, have a great day, have a great evening, Striker out.